In a corporate world where all employees have great leaders with no egos that create fun cultures where people can do their best work, the employees and companies thrive while doing great things for the customers, themselves, and each other.
Well, we know that rarely happens. I'm Jeff Palacio. I have been a leader for over 40 years for every t-shirt size company, from small 16 employees to extra large over 1 million. Please join me while I interview outstanding leaders that will share stories of great leadership and not so great. It will help you become a better leader while poking fun about all the crazy shit that happens in corporate America. Welcome to a special edition of the Corporate Couch. These episodes will be more of a love seat that focuses on one topic and will run 15 to 30 minutes. For each special edition episode, you will hear from one or more outstanding leaders sharing their expertise on the most important challenges in corporate America today. Welcome, Michael, to a special edition of the Corporate Couch, and we're going to focus on you and your new book coming out. You have 4 minutes, My Life as an Unlikely Celebrity Interviewer. So thanks for coming on. You're part of the Corporate Couch Two-Timers Club.
Wow.
Yeah, over 180 interviews at this point, and there's less than a handful of people, probably less than 10, have been on twice. So I'm honored to have you, and can't wait to chat about your new book.
Well, I'm so tickled that you had me on again. You really didn't have a choice. I demanded it. So thank God you're here.
You actually did, yeah. And we're recording here on a Friday morning at 8 a.m. And
not enough eye cream in the world, Jeff. Okay.
I'm going to Anderson Cooper Michael Mackie and get his brand of eye cream. So let's start there. What brand of eye cream are you using?
It genuinely depends on what time of the morning. So I'm using an eye cream that I keep in the fridge. I'll share it with you later. It's very clandestine. I don't want to.
It's not like the little pads. Those little pads?
No.
Okay.
I keep it in the fridge and I slather it on while I'm drinking my coffee. And look, it works. It works.
You look fucking fantastic. I mean,
thanks, young man.
All right. So thank you for the advanced copy of the book. I loved it. I got to start with this is going to be a question hopefully you've never been asked before about the book, is why purple on the cover?
That was accidental. That was literally, that picture that is on the cover is the last photo that was taken of me of about 1,000 pictures. And I just happened to be wearing this sort of purpley eggplanty shirt.
Yeah.
And they loved it. The publisher loved it. The editor loved it. The photographers loved it. So purple for the win. I had nominal say in it. It just was a happy accident. And when I tell you, we took 1,000 pictures, we took 1,000 photos, and that last one, I think I was just like over it, and I was like, okay, let's go, I'm done.
So talk about what prompted you to write the book? I mean, what was did you always have it in you? I know you love writing. You've been writing, freelancing, but talk about the why.
I had this book in me for a while. And it had been rumbling around sort of in the back of my medulla oblongata for a really long time. And then when the pandemic hit, I found myself with a lot of time on my hands. And so I was like, well, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write this book that's been sort of in the background because I had time. And I spent a majority of 2020 and some of 2021 writing it. And when it was done, I was like, chef's kiss. This is genius. It's brilliant. It's going to get snapped up right away. And so because I, am delusional, I started sending it out to editors, publishing houses, thinking somebody's going to buy this, right? No, absolutely not. I think I was 0 for 30. I'm not even kidding. It was no sooner would I hit send on the email than I would get a rejection letter. And so I put it on ice. I myself, I was like, well, it's not the right time. I'll put it on ice. And then last year, right this very second, I got my own travel show on PBS, and which sort of propelled me back into the spotlight a little bit. And it was weird because I hadn't been on TV in probably a decade. And all of a sudden, now that I was back in the spotlight, publishing houses were reaching out to me. And it was so weird because they were like, do you have your own show? And you know me, Jeff. I was like, yes, doesn't everyone? You know, stupid. And the travel show literally flamed out. It was one and done. It burned
one
brightly.
season.
It burned brightly. It's supernovaed.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned if that travel show didn't get me a book deal. And so then it was game on. And I turned the book in and I said, here you go, publish away. And the publisher came back and he was like, oh, you're cute. This is like 30% done. And I was like, so most of last year, and this year, I guess, it was game on. In fact, he challenged me, I'm not even kidding, my publisher to send books, challenged me to write a chapter a day in February. And I did it, Jeff. Wasn't easy, but I did it. Yeah. And the book went to print sort of Memorial Day-ish, and here we are. It's days away from launching. By the time this podcast come out, it'll be out into the world. Yeah, so it's September 9th of 9/9 of 2025. So it's coming out. Actually, it will be out next week. So I feel like can we talk? I feel like I've been gestating this book for like 5 years, and I'm about to give birth. It's a big deal, huge. Yeah. You'd be handing out cigars and everything. You know it. No, I mean, it was so. I mean, I love the chapters, and I know you talk a lot about the B-52s, but was that I noticed it was 52 chapters. Was that a shout out to them in terms of? Yes. Thank you for getting that. Yeah, It was 52 chapters on purpose, and you'll notice who wrote the foreword was Cindy Wilson, one of the founding members of the B-52s. And when she sent that foreword, first of all, I bawled. I ugly Oprah cried. And then I was like, oh, this is really this is legit. I'm legit. This book is happening. So thank you, Cindy. Tin Roof. Rusted. I love the they're bite-sized chapters. You know, it's something you can, read in the bathroom type thing. I noticed that. But it's laugh out loud funny in terms of, just you being you and being your self-deprecating humor is phenomenal, as well as your mannerisms. What I when we talked the first time about your career journey on the podcast, one thing I didn't get into was your battle with addiction and the sobriety journey. So talk about that and kind of weave in what I thought was amazing. And you talked about it just briefly earlier. You wrote a chapter a day every day in February. But you have a discipline about you also. You gave up sugar for a year. It's a big chapter in the book. But talk about the battle with addiction and your sobriety journey. There is a chapter in the book called The Sober Whisperer. And it's funny because I've been sober. I will be sober 10 years come this January. And I had a lot of residual trauma in 2015. My mom passed away. I lost my job at the TV station. And so I started self-medicating at home alone. And I would be drinking like a bottle of wine every night. And then towards the end of, 2015, it was basically a bottle and a half. And I remember because my doctor, bless his heart, he was like, hey, you're overdue for your physical. You better come in before the end of the year. And I think he scheduled it on I'm not even kidding, December 29th. So I got in right under for insurance. And he's told me to get my labs done. And so I went and got my labs done. And when I walked in, he's livid. And he's got this piece of paper and he's shaking his head. And he was like, if you were a betting man, Mackie, how much weight do you think you've gained over the last year? And I was like, rude. I was like, well, 25 pounds. I mean, I'd put on a little bit of weight. And I was like, maybe 30 at the absolute most. And he was like, try again. And I was like, I have not gained more than 30 pounds. I will admit I've put on a few pounds here and there, but you make it sound like I need to be shopping at Kansas Tent and Awning, Doc. I was really incensed. And then he told me that I had gained 59.5 pounds over the past year. And he goes, I don't know what you're doing, but it needs to stop. And I knew what I was doing. I was drinking wine like it was going out of style. And this was on December 29th. and I did what any raging, out of control wino would do. I went home and I started binge drinking, and I drank for 3 solid days. I don't think I got out of bed. I just drank and drank and drank myself into a stupor, into this black hole into this abyss. And then on January 2nd, I woke up and I vowed I would never drink again. And ask any alcoholic and they'll tell you that never works. Except for the one time it did, and it was me. And I called a buddy and I said, I want to get sober. And he had been on his recovery journey, and he sort of walked me through the process and held my hand and took me to an AA meeting. And that was the beginning of my sobriety. And so by the grace of God, go I, it'll be 10 years in this January 2nd.
Again, what I love about you, it's not only the interviewing the Jennifers, Aniston, Lopez, and all these celebrities from SNL and everyone, including
Literally
the Wilson sisters from Heart, were some of my favorites. I had a big crush on Ann, the guitarist, growing up. So, and we also share a crush on Lindsay Wagner too. That was good.
Facts.
Yeah, but you're a person that gives back, right? So talk about helping others going through their sobriety journey.
It was funny because once I started putting out into the cosmos, into the universe, that I was on a recovery journey and that I was a hot mess express. And I know you're not supposed to talk about AA, but I did. And I was like, I would chronicle the highs, the high highs, the lowy lows, the struggles, how much I was still triggered. And that went on for a good 5 years. And then a weird thing happened. People randomly started reaching out to me. I don't know if it's because I seem approachable or because they know it was a no judgment zone, but people would start reaching out to me and they were like, hey, I'm a mess like you were. I want to get sober. And then I became the person who would literally take somebody's hand and then walk them into AA. And I've probably helped, I'm not even kidding, I've probably helped about a dozen people who have not only gotten sober, but more importantly, stayed sober. So that's why I jokingly refer to myself as the sober whisperer, because guess what? I get it. I know what it's like to be in the throes of addiction. It's a sickness, it's an illness, and it'll always be a part of me. And it's something that I need to manage on a literal hour-by-hour basis, even 10 years later.
In my single days in my 20s, I had a roommate who had an addiction issue. But, you and I have been at various events, and there's drinking, and you celebrity bartend at one of the local speakeasies sometimes. But how do you deal with that? Like he could not. I mean, he would go to bars, but it would be a hard environment for him. How do you handle that?
Real talk, I can't tell you the amount of parties or events or bars that I have just literally gotten up and walked out, because if I feel even the slightest twitch that the addiction is overwhelming me, I just leave. I'm smart enough to know that I can go to events. I can go to bars. It's fine. I'm far enough into my journey that it doesn't really bother me. But you know where I don't go, Jeff? If there's an event at a wine bar, I sure as hell don't go to those. So if it's, wine-centric or something, because that's my literal kryptonite. And if I turn the camera around and I pointed it towards my kitchen, it's funny because people walk in and they see my bar and they are like, do you have booze up there? Aren't you an alcoholic? And I'm like, yeah, but listen, I don't drink alcohol. I don't like alcohol. I just have it there, if I'm going to entertain or something. But you know what I don't have, Jeff? I don't have any wine in this house at all, ever, for 10 years. So, because that's my jam, and that's also my biggest downfall is wine. Yeah.
Growing up, I was like you, and loved, TV and, kind of the celebrities, and it was, we had some fun television back then. We kind of grew up in the same era, although you're younger than me. But talk about like how when you started interviewing celebrities, and I've had Joe Goldberg on the podcast, and we grew up, Jill and I, more on the sports ball, the celebrity thing, like athletes. What is it like? Like you're kind of fascinated with these people growing up, and when you first start interviewing these people in your 20s, talk about that process, and how do you get over the awe of like, oh my God, I'm interviewing so-and-so?
The first few interviews I did were beyond train wrecky. I mean, beyond train wrecky. I remember my very first interview, the assignment editor yelled out into the newsroom. He's like, you guys, I forgot that we got this celebrity coming in over the lunch hour. Who wants it? And no one wanted it. I was at a TV station in Des Moines, and it was like cockroaches when you turn the lights on. Everyone ran for the hills, and I was the only one left in the newsroom. And I wasn't even a reporter at the time, but I was like, I'll do it. And I was like, well, who's the celebrity? And he was like, I don't know, some woman. She's in the bathroom freshening up. Just go get ready. And so the videographer sets up, I swear to God, like interrogation room lighting. It was horrific because he was so mad that he had to do this at the absolute last minute over his lunch hour. And then in walks Joanne Worley. Like, I turn around and Joanne Worley from Laugh-In is literally right in front of me. And I think she rappelled down from the ceiling. Like, I don't know where she came from, but then suddenly she was like right in front of me. And I was like, oh, hey, Joanne Worley, who I know nothing about. I vaguely remember her from Laugh-In. Jeff, I did not, in this interview, in this 15-minute interview, I never asked her, not once, why she was in town, what she was promoting. I asked nothing that was germane to her. You know what I did ask her? Inexplicably, I asked her who her favorite teacher was. So, Joanne, tell me, who was your favorite teacher? What? Completely out of context. I think, anyway, it was horrific. Thank God that was before the age of social media. Somewhere in the archives, that tape still exists, and it is worse than anyone could ever imagine.
That's funny.
Joanne Worley, the first chapter in the book is called Joanne Worley Popped My Cherry, because she did. And then it was weird because the next week Sherman Hemsley from the Jeffersons came in, and then Dennis Weaver came in. So it was all these people that I grew up watching on TV. It was so weird.
Yeah, so interesting. Again, there's so many laugh out loud moments in your book, but talk about the wrestler that sharded during the interview.
No one believes this story. And when my editor read it, he goes, this did not really happen. You were exaggerating. And I go, no, it really happened verbatim. Shawn Michaels from the World Wrestling, he was huge back in the late 90s. He was on SmackDown. It was a whole thing. And I just remember him coming in to do some promotional bits or something. I mean, he was epic. This was like 30 seconds before The Rock became The Rock. So Shawn Michaels was the shiz, figuratively and literally. And he came in, and he was affable and chatty and whatever. And, he was wearing a shirt that was like 4 sizes too small, a medium, and got situated, and the interview started. And I distinctly remember this because he lifted up like on one butt cheek and just ripped the loudest, most gelatinous fart. And I sat there in disbelief. Like, I'm like, what is happening? And then he got up. He goes, I'll be right back. Probably because in his pants. I don't know. And I'm sitting there. I'm pretty seasoned at this point, and I'm at KMBC. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what just happened, but anyway, this is weird. And then the smell hit me and the crew and my boss. Right. Now,
and he owned it. He actually lifted his leg. I mean, it wasn't like he, mistakenly flatulated. And I went back to my boss, who, if you read that chapter, confirmed everything. Like, it's not just me. I didn't like suddenly misremember this or make stuff up. No, it happened, and it was gelatinous. That's all I'm going to say. I don't. Clearly, he had too much protein. He drank too much protein shake that morning or something, because some bad creatine, which was in those days.
I left to go outside, out the back door to get some fresh air, which is where like 7 smokers were, and I've never been so happy to be surrounded by cigarette smoke in my life. So there's that. So I'm wondering if this will ever get back to Shawn Michaels. Probably. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Well, his friends know him. I'm sure it's not going to be a surprise for them. If he's doing it in KMBZ in the studio.
No, it was at K. It was KMBC. It was when I was at the TV station, not to be confused with the Z. So there you go.
Yeah, C. Yes, C as in Charlie. Yes, I drew a blank.
And it happens. Look, even in interviews, even I draw a blank. That's when you ask. That's when you ask Jeff. You go, how many people were in the Jackson 5? That's when you just throw them a curveball because you're.
Oh yeah, I read that. Who was it? The woman that married the 95-year-old and got
Anna
all the
Nicole
money.
Smith.
Oh my God, that was funny. How many people in the Jackson 5? When was the War of 1812? You started rattling off these questions.
Because she was so out of it. And at the end of the interview, it was like, I'm thinking this interview is unusable, so I'm just going to just go to town. And it was unusable. And that video exists. If you look up that video exists in real life, and you can see me ask her those questions. And then at the very end of the interview, I was like, Anna Nicole, thank you so much for almost being here today. Like, what?
Oh man, what gave you the idea for the format of the book? Because what I really loved is the chapters about obviously interviewing all these celebrities, but you throw in the people you work with would have chapters talking about the same experience, like you said with your producer, and I think there's Carolyn Long's in there in a chapter, and various other people. And not only that, but then you talk, you kind of go into the personal stuff, giving up sugar for a year, which is hysterical. Your sobriety journey, the stroke, and all that. But what gave you the idea to format it that way? I
wanted it to be nothing. I wanted it to be about nothing but celebrities. And my publisher literally was like, you are in recovery from alcohol. Where's that chapter? You gave up sugar for a year. You survived a massive stroke. Where's that chapter? And so then I went back, and it turned into like memoir light, kind of. And then as I went along, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have people chime in. I'm going to have people chime in maybe to either corroborate my story or to just add a bit of color commentary. And, my former boss, Chad Lebo, did that. Carolyn Long did it. My old assignment editor, Brenda Poor. These are all names that, they're all phenomenal writers by and large in and of themselves. And so I just wanted them to just pepper in because it's a book for everyone. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it really is. Any pointers to other would-be celebrity interviewers, like to give them kind of your learnings over 30 plus years?
2 words: shut up. I cannot shut up. I have had to bite my tongue in half sometimes because I so badly want to chime in or interrupt a celebrity, and usually they'll be right in the middle of the most amazing story ever. And I'm like, and so that is my go-to. Michael, just shut up and listen. And then when they're done talking, then you can ask your next question. Unless it's a comedian who goes off on a tangent. Comedians are the worst because they try to squeeze in 10 minutes of material into a 4-minute interview, and it's the literal worst. So comedians, I'm reduced to, so
it's funny. Besides me, who's on your list of celebrities that you have not interviewed?
At the zenith, the pinnacle, if you will, is Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton, I have loved her. She was my very first concert. I'm pretty sure Dolly Parton made me gay. She is a goddess on the mountaintop. She is burning like a silver flame. And I've been in the same room as Dolly twice, but I just, for whatever reason, I can't seem to get her handlers to give me an interview. And I love her so much. So if this book does nothing else, it will get me an interview with Dolly Parton, who to me is the big white whale, the big blonde whale, because we would have such a good talk. We could talk about our love of Velveeta. We love both love Velveeta. Jeff, so much we could talk about.
Oh, that's funny. How could people get your book?
It is, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be out. It'll be in several local bookstores. It's going into the bookstores at the area Puerto at KCI. Very exciting. So you'll see me out in the wild. And you're right. It is literally the perfect book to take into the bathroom with you. It's the perfect book to take on a plane with you because they're little mini bite-sized chapters that require no effort on anyone's part. There's nothing cerebral at all. I swear, if you're a Mensa member, you will laugh. So there you go.
Love that. Well, Michael, thanks for coming on the Corporate Couch as part of the Two-Timer Club. You're always a joy to talk to. You crack my shit up, so thank you.
You're sweet. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening to this special edition of the Corporate Couch. If you enjoyed the episode, I would love for you to take 2 minutes out of your day to rate us 5 stars and write a review. Please join me weekly where I interview great leaders that share their career journey and their leadership wisdom.